Very good. So I need to ask our facilitation committee members, do we want a microphone on the floor? Any other folks, what's that word, on stack in line to speak about this discussion, rights of nature, rights of Mother Earth, applying our own indigenous perspective, our spiritual knowledge around this discussion? Candy, maybe you can help me out here. We have the podium up here. That means you have to walk up here, or we might have a microphone down here. The Kogi, I mentioned the Kogi. Their message to the younger brothers and younger sisters is that you're doing something to destroy that balance of Mother Earth. We are a simple people. And you have to change your ways, because you're not only destroying us in those high mountain regions of Colombia, but you're destroying yourself. And we don't have that ability to change the way that you think. And in my deeper analysis in that is that, as we heard yesterday from this Global Alliance on Rights of Nature, is that they are developing a movement for a new paradigm in what Mona said, their Western laws. They're designed around ownership of nature, ownership of Mother Earth, property rights, and to a new paradigm that gives recognition to the sacredness of Mother Earth. Earth jurisprudence. And we understand our relationship to Mother Earth and its responsibility ingrained in our knowledge as far as our emergence, our genesis, our creation, all this woven into language. Yes, we know who we are. What we say in our Indigenous Environmental Network, you have to change your ways. Your laws are destroying our people. If this movement is going to change the ways that they operate into a new paradigm that weakens those property rights, so that we have standing when we speak about the importance of the sacredness of our waters, so that our waters have standing. What is it that is intriguing and interesting then in that concept of what they are introducing? This is what I'm looking for, that link, because we need that. As our brothers from the South are learning, our tribal government system, some of the laws and tribal law that we have developed, even though we're proud of the self-determination of our laws. As Steve Newcomb is going to talk about later today, some of the Indian law has been couched, formed on the principles of domination. How do we change that? How do we do our own transformation as indigenous peoples from the North that have already been influenced by Western concepts, integrated into our tribal systems and into our environmental codes? Many of our tribes don't have environmental codes. So let's, who wants to speak? I guess just stand up. You have your own ways as indigenous people. Just come up. And it's not necessarily elders. We have some young people now who have a good grasp on spirituality and that balance. So it is age balance, eh? So, okay, so the podium's here. All we ask is that you introduce yourself as appropriate to your people, to yourself, so we know, they know who you are, and the microphone's here. If you want to come up here, this is open too. Contact information if you want people to contact. There's people throughout the world who are tuned in. Yesterday, our internet went down because there were so many people using it. So we did a couple switches, and we have a new server now that's a lot more powerful than our last one. I don't know much about that magic, but it's more powerful. And so people are tuned in. We have some comments come in. We're going to try to write those up on the wall. And some of our facilitation team, let's put those comments, feedback from the breakout groups on the wall. Some are inside a computer. So if we can print those out, people want to see those, just to steady them as we go into this afternoon leading into tomorrow. Okay, so don't be shy. Indianish, they say, with the Anishinaabe country where I live with some of the Ojibwe people, they say, don't be Indianish, meaning don't be shy. Come up here. The microphone's here. We do have some folks that have come. I don't know if you are ready. You know, we are honored with Billy Frank Jr., who is here from the Nisqually Nation, from the Puget Sound region. We have others who are here. Earl Hatley, who has worked on many of these issues from Oklahoma, is here. Feel free. We have two folks coming up.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for the invitation. And thank you for the good words this morning. My name is Bob Gough. I'm the Secretary for the Intertribal Council on Utility Policy. And there's a number of things I'd certainly like to talk about, but I first want to thank everyone here for the prayers that went out yesterday for Pat Spears, our president, Intertribal Coup, and Mike Kola. I've worked with him for 2 decades or more now on a lot of these issues. And he was stricken with a stroke yesterday, and I've been on the phone with him actually over the last 2 days, and while he can't talk too much, it was an opportunity for me to get my side of the conversation in, because he's got tubes down his throat, and he's not going to be talking for a while. He'll be sidelined for a little bit, but I wanted to report to you that he is doing positively very well considering what he's been through. They've operated, they've removed the problem, the clot. He's resting, but he's the nurses and people there with him holding the phone to his ear, saying he was acknowledging everything I was telling him, and I was letting him know that there's a lot of powerful people working on the same things we've been working on, all pulling for him. So he was cheered by that. So I just wanted to make sure folks here knew that and give you our gratitude and thanks for the prayers and good wishes and intentions. And don't stop. Keep them up. So thank you. Thank you on that. I also wanted to just report very quickly for a moment on, I just got back from Australia, where the United Nations University and the Indigenous, IPCC, the International Panel on Climate Change, have been meeting with Indigenous peoples from around the world on climate change mitigation and adaptation. These issues that are on the table here are on the table around the world for Indigenous peoples, and communicating to the UN at the highest levels. So as these reports get put together and they are now coming to Indigenous peoples asking for input. The very simple notion that Indigenous peoples have been able to carry on their cultures in the face of 14 to 40,000 and longer years, often in the same place, seeing the changes that have come in ways that people who've been moving around the planet have missed and no longer practice, that folks are turning to Indigenous peoples for insight on how to be resilient, how to adapt. And part of it is looking for Indigenous knowledge and trying to understand how to incorporate that with science. And one of the key insights that was communicated down there and elsewhere is that Indigenous knowledge isn't necessarily secret. It's just inclusive of all of the environment and not making simple decisions for moving from point A to point B and then all of a sudden realizing you've got unanticipated consequences all on either side of that path. Instead, you walk that path taking account of all of those potential consequences and understanding that, having lived with them for a long time, and making decisions in light of that insight. So it's more holistic as opposed to stovepiping and direct lining. And it was very, very simple but powerful insight that, mitigation doesn't mean we just fix this piece of the problem. We have to step back and see the big picture. And no one carries the big picture better than Indigenous peoples in hearts, in minds, in culture, in song, and in ceremony. And these are some of the points being made to the UN in this regard. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that as we saw with Dean's presentation yesterday, one of the biggest places we can make a difference is buildings. Buildings are where humans live on the earth. That's the place that mediates the earth and us. And sometimes we even put the earth over our heads in the buildings that we build, the earthen structures and the like. The churches that we build, the kivas that we build. The opportunity for Indian country to make a difference in nation building at home through housing, through jobs, building straw bale and natural building housing that reduces our energy cost, reduces our energy inputs, reduces our footprint on the planet, and gives us a better lifestyle, is one of the places where it can make a big difference, and that Indian country has more power than most governments. Tribes have more power over housing on their reservations than any city does with regard to buildings in its jurisdiction or any county in its jurisdiction. Tribes can make the biggest difference here. And I just wanted to report to you, as we talk about these things, we're looking at an alliance with the insurance industry because these folks manage risk. That's their business. And for those of you who may not know, there's one insurance company for almost all of Indian housing. 430 housing authorities have one insurance company, and they own it. They self-insure. And there's a difference that can be made working with those kinds of institutions that can better our lives today and better our respect by working more closely with Mother Earth tomorrow. And in terms of the first speakers, I just wanted to say, I agree. There is no place like Rome. Thank you.